Well, Sean, my friend, welcome in this week to the podcast as we're talking here on Retirement Elevated. You're always doing different kinds of consultations and reviews of people, all that kind of stuff. And we were sitting there thinking about it. I wonder what other people would want if they would want to be like a fly on the wall and hear what happens in other people's financial, reviews or conversations or things of that nature. So we found this cool article, and we'll put a link to it in the show notes below. It's a new survey of nearly 400 experienced advisors. They reveal the biggest concerns that they're getting from their clients and things of that nature. And these are all businesses, by the way, that have been in business for 20 plus years. So they've been around a little while. So it's kind of an interesting breakdown. Like I said, we'll share that in the show links if folks want to check it out. But I think this was I kind of want to just kind of talk about a few key points and then let you share what you see in your practice and then kind of what your thoughts are. But in the concept of just seeking out financial professionals, because everybody can call themselves one now, right? Even on social media now, even on Instagram and stuff, you got people that say they're they're financial influencers. They have no licenses, no certifications, no nothing. Be careful listening to that kind of stuff. But anyway, advisors in this survey said 52% of the clients that they seek out financial professionals for retirement planning. Okay. And then 34% just, looking to build wealth. Now I know primarily you serve mostly people thinking about retirement, but does that sound kind of accurate to you? 52% for retirement and 34 for, hey, help me build my money.
Yeah. I mean, we actually do a lot of workplace wellness as well.
Oh, okay.
Certain members on our team work with businesses, and Melissa, who we talked about her book, and then some of our other advisors. Based on what we're seeing there, and half of the attendees that come to the lunch and learns and get data from us, that's probably pretty close to accurate.
Okay,
we did an event last week, and there was 16 employees there, and about 8 of them were retirement age. And then we had another grouping. Let's call it. We had half, and then we had 30% that were in the phase where they were getting ready to start to really accumulate. And then we had the other group that is like, okay, how do we get out of debt? How do we start to prepare to get to where we want to be ultimately?
That's good.
It's all based on the phases of life.
Yeah. And by the way, Melissa's book, so if you guys want to check that out,
there it is.
Shoot a message. The links are below in the show descriptions. They'll send you one over. But so interesting enough. So we hear often, right? Especially, again, we all know that it doesn't matter who you listen to on mainstream media. All they want to do is scare the crap out of you on a regular basis about whatever it is. But we've been hearing for years now that Americans don't have enough money saved for retirement. Or people in general don't have enough money saved for retirement. But according to this survey, interesting enough, Sean, over half of the people surveyed said the average client has around $760,000. That's pretty good. $750,000 for over half of the people they've seen. Right. And again, you're talking about 400 financial advisors across the country. That makes me feel a little better. It makes me feel like maybe some of the financial education is starting to get better out there and people are putting away. What's your thoughts?
That's about average for what we see here. I mean, a lot of it depends on the area in the country that you are too, right? So, I mean, there tends to be a little bit higher savings rate, honestly, in the Midwest. Johnson County, where my partner Scott is one of the wealthiest counties in the U.S. And so their average client size is around $1.5 million.
Okay.
But when you start to look at dollars, and I get asked the question a lot, hey, Sean, how am I doing in comparison to Joe down the street?
Well, and that's why I wanted to share this, because it's like, I mean, I'm happy that people have $750,000 on average. We're starting to see that more, but it's not about the number, right? It's about what you're going to do with the income side.
And what your needs are, because you could have, let's say that you have $500,000 saved and you've worked for the state, or you've worked for, IHC here in Salt Lake, which offers a great pension. You've got Social Security coming in, and your income sources are more than what your income needs are from your pension or Social Security.
Right.
You're in pretty good shape. And that extra $500,000 that you've worked hard to accumulate is there to provide extra, all the fun stuff that you want to do if your plan is properly built.
Right.
But you could have saved $2 million and you have no Social Security plan. You have no pension. You do have Social Security, but there's really no thought around the benefits. Your income needs are way high. And oh, by the way, that $2 million is not going to be enough because your expenses are out of whack.
Yeah.
So I don't put a lot of stock into what your account balance is. We actually, as a firm, choose to not even have minimums because everybody's plan is unique. And in a
That's
lot of
cool.
cases,
Yeah.
it's around, okay, how do we figure out how to solve the problem and then let you know if the problem's going to be solvable, rather than, oh, well, here's the account minimum that we have. But oh,
Right.
by the
You have
way,
to have 300,000 to work with us, that kind of thing.
yeah.
Right.
And oh, by the way, you've got $2 million, which sounds great on the surface, but in 10 years, your plan's going to blow up. That's not somebody that we really feel that we can help and make a great impact on if their expectations aren't in line.
That's true, right? If you're, especially also if you're not going to listen to the, or work within the strategy or the plan. Not saying that, hey, we're the money police and you got to do what we tell you, but it's like, hey, if you're not willing, like, why hire someone to help you if you're not going to follow along with, some of their advice, right? Go find a different kind of person.
Well, and the most successful people are structured. They're in how they spend their money.
Well, there you go. All right, so top client concerns based on this survey, Sean. No surprise that at 38% being the top category, outliving the assets. No surprise there.
Yeah, and the second one is generating reliable income streams. So what
at 31%, yeah.
What this tells me is that people don't have a plan. We talked about being an 8, 9, or 10 when it comes to income investments. What this tells me is that the majority of people, 70% of people, are not an 8, 9, or 10 when it comes to the confidence level of their income plan. Okay. And they don't have a social security strategy. They don't know where they're going to pull money from and when. They don't know how long their money is going to last, and they don't have clarity. So what we see from a concern perspective are, hey, am I going to run out of money? Am I going to have enough? How am I going to generate income? A lot of those concerns can be alleviated if you take the time to sit down with an advisor like us or, somebody else to build a real actionable written plan that you can follow.
Yeah, that's a good point. And yeah, so almost 70% basically kind of falls into that same kind of category. Now, oddly enough, and I should say that this survey was completed, by the way, in December of 2024. So bear that in mind with this next one here, that future stock market crashes only registered in at about 12.5% of the people surveyed. Now, at the time we're taping this podcast, it's been a little choppy for the last 5-6 weeks. So that number might be a little bit higher right now. Not necessarily does that mean that it's accurate, because people tend to panic when we get choppy, right? But I don't know, top client concern, the stock market being third at 12%. Not really shocking, but I was surprised it wasn't higher.
Well, and that's getting to an 8, 9, or 10, that's investments is number 2. And that you understand that your plan could survive a major market correction.
Or a minor one. At the time we're taping this, we're only down 4.5% for the calendar year since the beginning of 2025. 4.5%, it's not that big. It's not, if 4.5% has broke you for retirement, you didn't have a good plan to begin with.
Now, you built your plan off of every year being an up year, and that's just not
every
real.
Year being 22% like the last year, 2 years, right? Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So I look at that. A lot of these concerns that are coming in are telling me that people haven't taken the time to determine. I use 8, 9, or 10.
Sure.
To get to that point in their plan, it's because a lot of there's lacking clarity, and there hasn't been the time taken to evaluate your situation to determine what the proper course of action could or should be.
Yeah, for sure. Last one on these top concerns I'll share, just kind of want to get your thoughts on it. Healthcare costs. Only 8.5% of the people surveyed found it to be a top concern. That's more concerning to me than any of these other numbers because of the healthcare situation in our country and just the rising cost of it, right? If only 8.5% of 400 people are even thinking about healthcare costs, that's not a good trend, because you need to be paying some attention to this.
Yeah, and there's, you look at healthcare and it's, how am I going to pay for healthcare costs prior to 65? Have I accounted for, IRMA, which we talked about, which is if your income is too high, your Medicare premiums are increased. But can I survive a major medical event? And those are the questions that we should be asking ourselves. And, I talked to a lady today that she said, you know what, Sean, if I have to go into a long-term care facility, I'm just going to go out to the desert and never come back. I'm like, well,
right.
I mean, okay.
It's a terrible way to go. Don't do that.
But you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of thought around, well, it's not going to happen to me. Look how young and healthy I am.
Oh, yeah.
But, the truth be told, like, medical expenses are going to cost around $250,000 for you in retirement. So we have to be able to plan and account for that as you continue to move forward through your retirement plan.
Yeah. Well, now, as the opposite side of this coin, and those were top client concerns, top advisor concerns, we'll just do the top two. Advisors say clients should be most concerned about actually unanticipated healthcare costs. That was number one at 54%. So it's very good that you were talking about that. So 54% saying that's the number one thing people should be focused on. And number two then was outliving the assets at 38%, because I think there's a better hold, right? You guys have a lot better the software and the planning and the technology. It's a little easier now to kind of figure out, hey, we're going to be okay from an asset standpoint. We can put the numbers in, we can run the data, we can run that out to 100 years old, make sure we're going to be there, have the money. The healthcare thing, hard to say, because you may or may not ever get sick.
Well, and the healthcare is tricky, and there's a lot of studies coming out about your lifestyle age versus your biological age.
Sure.
Right. And those may not be in line. My lifestyle age has a lot to do with, how healthy I am. Do I exercise? Do I drink? Do I smoke? What area of the country do I live in?
Yeah.
What sort of lifestyle do I live or have I lived in comparison to my biological age? So my biological age could be 75, but my lifestyle age could be 60 or 85, right? Like, I haven't taken care of myself, and now I've got some problems.
Well, we were told forever and a day, as a musician myself, we were told forever and a day, sex, drugs, and rock and roll is very bad for you. But Mick Jagger's like 81 years old and like awesome.
Yeah, he's still trucking along.
He's still running along a massive stage, and he just had heart surgery like a year ago. So, something like that. Guy's a freak of nature. But anyway, Mick, we love you. All right, so before we get too long on the time, I want to go to this next piece here, working in retirement. I thought this was interesting. According to the survey, Sean, on average, 63% of clients age 55 or older intend to work 65 and beyond. All right, let's just start there. 63% of the people talked to that are age 55 want to work past 65. To me, there's two reasons for that. Either they're afraid they don't have enough money or don't know, or B, they just like they just want to work and stay active, which I get, because, I don't think we're meant to sit still and do nothing.
Yeah, and we've seen it a number of times. Clients retire, get bored, go back to work.
Yeah.
Then they retire again, get bored, go back to work. When it comes to retirement, you're exactly right. Families that we work with, they continue to work primarily because they don't know what they're going to do with their time.
Sure. Every
plan that we build, we give a date where we feel 99, 100% confident that you could retire by.
Right.
And in some cases, it's earlier than expected. Some cases, it's a little bit later than you thought or hoped. And in some cases, we got a guy that we're working with right now. We told him he could retire tomorrow, and his wife's like, "No,
you ain't.
No, you're going to 62 because that's what we decided on together, and that's going to give them additional assets." So
sure, feather that nest a little bit more, yeah.
But I think that the bigger concern for people when it comes to retiring, that's their social network as well.
Sure.
So, hey, all my friends are at work. That's kind of the plate on my chest that tells where my worth is, who I am as a person. I do this for work.
Right.
And a lot of people equate what they do for work to who they are, rather than saying, this is who I am. I just happen to work here.
Right.
And then transition to retirement is like, well, geez, what am I going to do with all this time? I got 2,500 hours. I don't know that I could fill that up. I enjoy what I do, so maybe I'll consult or do something else and create a little bit of income.
Now, check this out. Here's a dichotomy of this. So of the 63% who say they want to work beyond 65, only 30% of that number actually do it, right? Yeah. So it could be any number of reasons. A, they're like, nah, I actually want to be retired. I started to retire. It's kind of cool, and I'm going to stay that way. Or more often than not, your body said, yeah, you're not working anymore, right?
or a spouse, you want to spend time with your spouse, or there's been a health scare, or, whatever it may be, or a life-changing event. You're like, you know what? It's not worth an extra 2 years to save another 30 grand. I want that time back. I'm going to go spend it with those that I care about.
Time is the most valuable resource there is, and we can't get any more of that. So.
Nope. Can't get it back.
Interesting stuff. So, overall take, I think, Sean, for me anyway, is that, we see these things pretty much every year. We see these kinds of surveys and stuff pop up, and it's getting better, but it still feels like at the end of the day, a lot of people are just kind of winging it. We go to work, we have a collection of goodies. We have some insurance, we have a 401k, whatever, but I don't know what the hell to do with it. And I don't really, and it's not really a plan. It's just stuff. Now we think maybe we have a plan because we have this stuff, but we really don't have a plan.
Yeah. I got a collection of, I heard way back early in my career, most people have a junk drawer of stuff.
Sure.
Our job is to organize that junk drawer, and
financial junk drawer. Yeah.
I thought it was kind of hokey at first, but it does make a lot of sense that, once you can get organized, your plan becomes really simple to navigate and monitor.
Yeah, you just got to put one together. So if you need some help, you want to talk about your situation, make sure you're talking with a qualified professional in your area. But a lot of advisors work with people all across the country, just like Sean does. So if you need some help, reach out to him. We've got the links below in the show description for this week's show to the survey, as well as getting in touch with Sean and his team. Get yourself on the calendar at elevatemyretirement.com. That's elevatemyretirement.com. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast on Apple or Spotify in audio form if you like to consume things that way. Or like most people now, if you're watching videos and little shorts and things of that nature, subscribe to us on YouTube as well. Hit that little subscribe button, support the channel just by subscribing, of course, and then thumbs up and a notification bell so you catch new episodes when they come out. Sean, thanks for breaking it down, my friend. Always appreciate it.
Sounds good. Thanks, brother.
All right, buddy. We'll talk to you later next time here on the podcast. Thanks for hanging out with Sean and I on Retirement Elevated.
This video has been prepared for educational and marketing purposes only. The information in this video is general in nature, does not constitute personalized investment advice, and does not provide a complete analysis of the subjects discussed. All investments involve risk, and different types of investments involve varying degrees of risk. There can be no assurance that any specific investment strategy will be profitable or suitable to you. Additionally, although information presented in this video is believed to be factual and up to date, we do not guarantee its accuracy. You should consult an attorney or tax professional regarding your specific legal or tax situation and should consult a professional advisor before implementing any of the strategies mentioned in this video. Investment advisory services are offered through Elevated Capital Advisors LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor affiliated with Elevated Retirement Group LLC. Registration as an investment advisor does not constitute an endorsement of Elevated Capital Advisors LLC by securities regulators, nor does it indicate that the firm has attained a particular level of skill or ability. Insurance advice and products may be offered by a third-party insurance producer, which may be affiliated with Elevated Retirement Group LLC and Elevated Capital Advisors LLC. Mark Killian and Third Wheel Media LLC receive compensation for their assistance in preparing and hosting this video.